Hey guys, it's Carter. Welcome back to the channel. Now in today's video, we are going to be talking about how to properly buy a stock. Now, we always hear the expression of buy low, sell high. The biggest issue that a lot of traders have is they buy low, but it continues to sell off more and more and more. So we're going to be talking about some techniques and some things you guys need to throw in your strategy or your checklist so we all can make as much money as possible. So I hope you guys all enjoy it. If you guys are new to the channel, my name is Carter. I've been a full-time swing trader in the stock market for over 6 years. And with that being said, we do have an amazing school where we talk about my strategies, my mindset, my approach when it comes to swing trading and trading in the market. So check it out down below, and you guys can use code MONEY for 50% off. Only 2 spots left for that code. So check it out right now. And guys, let's jump into this here. So when it comes to swing trading and trading in the stock market, one of the biggest things that I see new traders have is they buy a stock that is sold off, but it continues to sell off more and more and more. So the first thing you guys need is a proper checklist. So for me, I love a trading journal. This is the one that I made. I'll put it down below for you guys. But having a checklist here, and this is why I love my journals, because it literally has write your checklist. And so when it comes to swing trading and trading in the market, you need to go through your stock to determine if you should buy this position. So let's pull up here some charts here. This is the broker I use. It's Moomoo. They're awesome. I'll put them down below. You guys can get 20 free stock by signing up with them. But when it comes to swing trading and trading in the market here, when going through my checklist here, the first thing is an upward trend. Trends, in my opinion, are super, super important. You guys can see here with BRFS, beautiful upward trend. Now, you also notice a couple of lines here. We have this yellow line, blue, and red. So the yellow line here is a straight trend line. Each and every time it hits this, you guys can see it gets good buying pressure. So now looking at this line, this is where you'd want to enter this position. Okay, another line here is the blue line. This is what we call the 90-day moving average line. It acts as support, very similar to this trend line here, but the thing about the trend lines is trends change. Moving average lines, they act as support and they act as resistance. So you guys can see right now it acts as support here. If we look at this line here, you guys can see it hits it, buying pressure, buying pressure, buying pressure, more buying pressure, and recently hits it again, more buying pressure. Okay, then we also have the red line, is what we call the 200-day moving average line. The difference between the 90 and the 200 is going to be stronger. It's going to be the harder support, harder resistance. And if you could buy a stock on the 200, that's a really, really good last line of defense before we get sell off here. So how do you know when to buy the stock, right? So going through the checklist, okay, upward trend, then the second one is sold off down to some level of support, okay? You want to make sure there is some support here. So in this circumstance, we do have 2 supports, which is just higher indication here for more buying pressure. The more supports you have, the higher percentages of getting your strategy to work. So in this circumstance here, you guys can see we have the trend line, and then we also have a moving average line. So we have 2, which is really good. Okay, the next thing is RSI. For me, the RSI here, you guys can see, is trading for a 34. So if you're a new trader here, I would recommend anything under a 30 on the RSI. And the reason I say that is because, what we see a tendency of happening here, especially with stocks, is they'll get a ton of buying pressure and they'll squeeze up like crazy, and then they'll sell off a little bit. Okay, and that might set off some scanners and some of our indicators to say, all right, maybe we should buy it. But the RSI is a momentum tracking indicator. So right now this thing's trading for a 34. So the last time it was trading for a 34, it was way back in here. And you guys can even see where we had this huge growth, right? And when the stock was trading for a 34, it was right in here. So it was right in this zone. And you guys can see it did see some volatility beforehand, but the last time in general, we did get some buying pressure, okay? Normally, if you're just starting out, make sure it's under 30. You won't regret it. The next thing here is when is the earnings. So you just got to look up the stock ticker, type in earnings date, and make sure it's not going to be in the next couple of weeks when you plan on holding your position. Earnings, 50-50 chance of making money, right? You guys can see here on this earnings, good growth. I'm sure there's earnings here with some sell-off here if we look at it, right? Earnings here, little buying pressure. This stock's a little different, right? You guys can see this one here. But earnings historically is like a 50-50 chance of making money. And so for me, I don't want that. I want to make sure I'm not going to be holding during this time. The next thing I look for, if you're going through on this stock and everything is a check off, right? You're checking off all these boxes. This stock has the potential for a buy. So the next thing here is looking at the risk and reward. You want to make sure the risk and your risk and reward is there. So if we hopped in on the 90-day moving average line, if we set our stop loss, a little bit below it, maybe 2-3% below, and having your target price be at the pretty much the closest resistance. So for me, it's up here at about 424. So the risk is $1 to make $4.61. We could also see some resistance here as well, and that brings it to about 1.6. So we can average it and see if we can get in this range here. But now that we're going through this, what is the last thing you look for? So for me, this is where a lot of traders get mixed up on and they do not do it. So for me, I go to the 1 hour chart. I go to the 1 hour chart to see if we can find some sort of support or some sort of breakout. The same strategies you use on the daily will work on the hourly. So what are those strategies? Go through that checklist, okay? Stock on an upward trend, sold off down to some level of support. Okay, in this circumstance here, we're actually having some sort of a breakout here. So really what we're looking for here in simple terms is for the stock to find some sort of support here. In this circumstance, there could have been 2 entry points. The first entry point could have been along this trend line down here. The second, if you missed it, which is completely fine, would be this. This opportunity right here, actually hopping in here, could represent a 200-day moving average line breakout. A breakout is where we see some sort of breakout from the stock from previous resistance. So looking back at the last point where this stock had this, you guys can see that the stock was using that 200-day moving average line as resistance, right? It hits it. But selling pressure. The second it broke up above it, you guys can see it rallied its way up and it moved a lot. Then we got some sell off here. Now we could see the same opportunity for the stock to break up above the 200-day back up to highs here. So the biggest thing is just finding some sort of support on the 1 hour chart or other lower time frames. The lower you go, often it'll be faster trades. So what I mean by this is if you find some sort of support on, let's just say, the 15-minute chart, this could be a faster trade. And what I mean by this is often this is what more day traders look at, right? Because you're going to be hopping in along this trend line and you're going to be looking for a move from like $3.60 to $3.70 and sell up here. So you're just the lower you go for the time frame, the faster and shorter your trade length is going to be. I recommend going to the daily, to the hourly. That seems to be the best sweet spot for traders to enter a position. So guys, I hope you guys all enjoyed it. If you have any questions, feel free to ask down below. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll see you guys in the next one. Don't forget, code money, 50% off, and we'll see you guys in there. Hope you guys have a great rest of your day, and take care.